I lit the match that ended my marriage before the ink on our vows had even dried. It wasn't my husband's betrayal that broke me. It was his mother's. The woman who'd smiled through gritted teeth at our wedding, toasting to family forever, while plotting to bury my dreams in ash. And in that single, flickering flame, I watched 20 years of sketches, studies, and secrets curl into black whispers, rising like ghosts from the barrel in our rainy Seattle driveway, knowing that from those ruins, I'd forge a fortune she'd never touch. But let's back up to the night it all ignited. Because revenge isn't born in a vacuum, it's marinated in the slow poison of loyalty turned lethal. Rain hammered the roof of our craftsman bungalow like it had a personal grudge, the kind of relentless Pacific Northwest downpour that turns streets into rivers and moods into black holes. I was Diana Hale, no. Still Voss back then. Diana Voss. The up-and-coming artist with paint under her nails and fire in her veins. 32. Married 6 months to Ethan, the golden boy of Seattle's tech scene, and on the verge of my first solo gallery show at the Fremont Collective. It was supposed to be my breakout. 12 original pieces, mixed media monstrosities blending urban decay with fever dream florals, inspired by the ghost towns I'd hitchhiked through as a kid in rural Montana. Critics were buzzing. A spot in the Seattle Art Walk could have launched me into the kind of career that pays mortgages and buys quiet. Ethan was at some late-night pitch meeting, schmoozing venture capitalists over bourbon in Belltown, the kind of night that made him come home smelling like success and stale cigars. I didn't mind. The house was finally ours. A fixer-upper we'd bought with his signing bonus from that AI startup. I'd turned the spare room into my studio. Walls splattered with cadmium red and ultramarine, canvases leaning like drunken soldiers. And there, on the drafting table, sat my portfolio, a leather-bound beast, 3 inches thick, every page a piece of my soul. Sketches from dawn patrols along the Duwamish, studies of rusted shipyards where salmon once ran silver. It wasn't just art, it was evidence of the girl who'd clawed out of poverty, who'd covered for her deadbeat dad's bar tabs until she could afford her own escape. That's when the front door creaked open, letting in a gust that rattled the wind chimes like accusatory fingers. Not Ethan, too light, too hesitant. Evelyn Voss, my mother-in-law, swept in like a storm front, her umbrella dripping on the Persian rug we'd inherited from Ethan's grandmother. She was 62, but looked 50 in that predatory way. Botox-smooth skin stretched over cheekbones sharp as switchblades, silver bob haircut framing eyes the color of gunmetal. Evelyn Voss, philanthropist, board member of the Seattle Symphony, and the woman who'd once whispered to Ethan that I was a phase. Darling, like that tattoo you regret. Diana. Dear, she said, voice honey over gravel, shaking out her raincoat. She carried a bottle of Veuve Clicquot, our engagement vintage, she'd called it, and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. I couldn't sleep. Thought I'd drop by. Celebrate your big night early. I wiped my hands on my overalls, forcing a grin. Family. That's what Ethan always said. Give her time. Mom's just protective. Protective like a she-wolf guarding a kill. We'd clashed from day one, me, the tattooed interloper with my bohemian nonsense, her, the wasp queen who'd clawed her way up from a trailer in Tacoma by marrying Ethan's father. Harlan, the lumber baron who died too young from a hunting accident that smelled like bourbon and bad decisions. But tonight, with the show 2 days away, I played nice. Poured glasses, clinked them in the kitchen under the Edison bulbs. We talked shop at first, her latest gala, My Color Palette. But Evelyn had a way of steering conversations like a riptide, pulling you under before you saw the waves. You know, Diana, she said, swirling her champagne, art's a gamble. Harlan always said it was for dreamers who couldn't hack the real world. Her laugh tinkled like breaking glass. I bit my tongue. Ethan had warned me about her barbs, the ones wrapped in concern. By the second glass, she was on her feet, pacing my studio like she owned it. Show me, she demanded, flipping open the portfolio without asking. Pages whispered as she turned them, her manicured nails leaving faint smudges. I watched her face, the flicker of something dark. Admiration twisted into envy. These are bold, she murmured. Raw. But do they sell? Or do they just gather dust like your father's old Polaroids? That stung. My dad, dead 5 years now. Liver shot from years of chasing the bottom of bottles. I'd found his stash once. Hidden Polaroids of him and some mystery woman, laughing in motel rooms. Dates stamped around the time Mom walked out. Secrets I'd buried deep. Because what good is truth when it orphans you twice? Evelyn lingered on a piece. Ashes to Flora. A canvas of charred wildflowers blooming from industrial slag. Inspired by a wildfire I'd barely escaped in my 20s. Poetic, she said, but her voice cracked. Then, quieter. You remind me of me, back when I thought beauty could fix everything. I should have seen it then, the glaze in her eyes, the way her fingers trembled on the leather. But I was buzzed, flattered, pouring more bubbly. That's when she confessed, words tumbling like an avalanche. Harlan hadn't died in a hunting accident. She'd pushed him, drunk, raging after finding her letters from a lover in Spokane. A shove on a slick ridge, body tumbling into the ravine. Self-defense, she whispered, tears carving tracks through her mascara. He was going to take everything, the kids, the company. I covered it up. Ethan was only 12. He deserved better than a mother in orange. My stomach dropped. This was Evelyn Voss, the Ice Queen, cracking open like fault lines in the Cascades. And me? I'd known scraps, rumors from Ethan's aunts. Whispers at family Thanksgivings, but never the full rot. Why tell me? I asked, voice barely above the rain. Because you're family now, she said, clutching my arm. And because I need you to promise, no one knows. Not Ethan. It'd destroy him. Her eyes bored into mine. Desperate. Manipulative. Swear it, Diana. For the life we're building. I swore. God help me. I did. Took the fall in my heart. That secret coiling like smoke in my chest. We hugged then, awkward and champagne sour. And she left with a breezy knock, and dead at the show. Kiddo. But as her taillights faded down the slick street, I didn't know she'd come back. Didn't know that 2 hours later, when Ethan was still out and I was sketching by lamplight, the door would creak again. This time, no umbrella. Just Evelyn, wild-eyed, reeking of gin from the flask she hid in her glove box. She didn't speak. Just grabbed the portfolio from the table. Her face a mask of fury I'd never seen. Raw, unfiltered hate. You think this makes you better? She hissed. Voice venom low. Better than me? Than what I built from nothing. Before I could lunge. She was out the back door. Into the garage. The rain swallowing her footsteps. I followed, barefoot on cold concrete. Heart slamming like bass in a dive bar. There she was, by the old oil drum we'd used for yard waste. Matchbook from her purse already struck. The first page caught my earliest sketch, a self-portrait at 18, eyes defiant amid the ruins of my childhood home after Dad's fire sale. Then the rest, florals unfurling from rebar, portraits of forgotten mill workers, each one feeding the blaze with a hungry crackle. "Stop," I screamed, grabbing her wrist, but she wrenched free, stronger than she looked, fueled by whatever demon had clawed its way up that night. "Evelyn, that's everything. The show. The show." She laughed, bitter as burnt coffee. "You parade this trash like it's redemption? It's lies, Diana. All of it. Just like mine." The flames roared higher, devouring ashes to floral last, the irony twisting like a knife. I lunged again, but slipped on the wet floor, cracking my elbow on the workbench. By the time I scrambled up, it was over. The portfolio was gone, reduced to a barrel of soot and soggy remnants, smoke curling like accusations into the night. She stood there, chest heaving, hands black with char. "Now we're even," she said, voice flat as a judge's gavel. Then she walked out, leaving me on my knees in the downpour, sifting ashes that stuck to my skin like accusations. Ethan came home at 3 a.m., found me shivering in the garage, the barrel still warm. "What the hell, D?" he muttered, pulling me up, but I couldn't speak. Couldn't tell him his mother had just torched my future, or the secret she'd confessed, the one I'd sworn to bury. Instead, I lied. Storm knocked over a candle. "My fault. He bought it." Held me while I sobbed, murmuring about insurance, backups, reshoots. But there were no backups. That portfolio was irreplaceable, originals, annotations, the raw nerve of my life's work. The gallery called at dawn. Cancellation. No pieces. No show. Whispers spread. Flaky artist. Bit off more than she could chew. Ethan's world kept spinning, promotions, handshakes, but mine cratered. I spiraled, days in bed, nights staring at the ceiling fan, the secret festering like an untreated wound. Evelyn sent flowers. "Sorry for your loss. Let's grab lunch?" I burned them in the sink, watching petals blacken, wondering if this was the real betrayal, or just the opening act. Weeks blurred into a gray haze. Ethan threw himself into work, coming home late with takeout and apologies he didn't know. "We'll rebuild," he'd say, kissing my forehead. But doubt crept in, insidious as ivy on brick. Was this why Evelyn hated me? Because I was building something she couldn't control? Or deeper, because in my art, she saw echoes of her own buried sins? One night, 3 months post-fire, I couldn't sleep. Slipped into the garage, the barrel long emptied, but its ghost lingering in the rust. Dug through junk, old paint tubes, broken easels. And there, wedged in the corner, a singed envelope. Not mine, Evelyn's. From the night of the blaze. She'd dropped it in the chaos, the flap torn open. Inside, a letter, yellowed, addressed to Harlan. "My dearest," it began, "the baby isn't yours. Forgive me, but Ethan." My blood turned to ice. Ethan wasn't Harlan's biological son. Evelyn's lover from Spokane, the one who'd driven her to murder. The secret she'd made me swear to keep, it was a lie atop a lie. She'd confessed the push to bind me. But this was dynamite. Ethan, my husband, raised on a foundation of fraud. And me, The fool who'd taken the heat for her portfolio purge, all while she played the grieving widow. I folded the letter, tucked it into my overalls. Dawn broke salmon pink over the sound, and for the first time since the fire, I felt it, not grief, but a slow, smoldering rage. Revenge wasn't a word I'd ever owned, but as I sketched the first lines on a fresh canvas, the outline of a phoenix rising from char, I knew. Evelyn Voss had burned my world. But from those ashes, I'd build one she'd begged to join. The revelation hit like bad acid, colors bleeding, edges warping, the safe lines of my life dissolving into a funhouse nightmare. I spent the next day in a fever, pacing the studio Ethan had rebuilt for me out of pity and plywood. New canvases. Sure. But they felt like prosthetics. Functional, but numb. The letter burned a hole in my pocket, its words replaying on loop. The baby isn't yours. Evelyn's lover. Some faceless ghost named Victor Kane. I'd Googled him later. Found obits from 95. Heart attack at 48. Convenient. She'd offed Harlan to bury the affair. Raised Ethan on the lie that he was the heir. The legacy. And me? I'd become collateral. My art the sacrifice on her altar of control. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Revenge, I'd learn, thrives in the simmer, not the boil over. Instead, I started small, anonymous emails to her symphony board pals. Tips about irregularities in the Voss Foundation funds. Nothing traceable, just enough to make her sweat. Audits looming, whispers at cocktail hours. She called me twice that week. Voice syrup sweet. Diana, darling, how's the painting? Ethan says you're back at it. I played along, choking down bile, sketching her face in charcoal, eyes hollowed like sockets, mouth a slash of regret. Ethan noticed the shift. We were at our favorite dive, the alibi room in Fremont, nursing IPAs amid taxidermy and neon. You're different, he said, tracing my knuckles. Fiercer. I like it. He didn't know the half, how I'd started collecting her trash, dumpster diving behind her Capitol Hill townhouse for receipts. Scribbled notes. One jackpot, a crumpled invoice for a private investigator. Dated a month before the fire. Subject, Diana Voss. Background check. Discreet. She'd been digging into me, unearthing Dad's debts. My juvie stint for shoplifting art supplies at 16. Ammo for sabotage. The real hooks sink deeper at Thanksgiving. Voss family tradition. Turkey at the lake house on Lake Washington. Pine-scented air thick with passive aggression. Evelyn presided like a dowager empress, carving the bird with surgical precision, her eyes flicking to me over the stemware. Ethan, oblivious, passed the yams, joking about his latest app demo. His sister Lila, 30, lawyer sharp, with Ethan's jaw but Evelyn's ruthlessness, sided with Mom on everything, from politics to pie crusts. We were on the deck after, fairy lights twinkling over the water, when Evelyn cornered me by the smoker. You look pale, Diana, she cooed, exhaling clove-scented vapor. Still mourning those silly drawings? Her flip was casual, but I saw the probe, the test. I sipped my wine, steady. Not mourning. Evolving. Then, lo, funny how fire reveals what's beneath. Like old letters, singed at the edges. Her cigarette paused mid-drag, ash tumbling like a warning. What letters? I smiled, slow as molasses. The ones that don't burn clean. Victor sends his regards. The color drained from her face. Foundation cracking like drought earth. She stubbed out the smoke. Ground it under her heel. You don't know what you're playing with, girl. But her voice wavered. First crack in the armor. That night, back in our bungalow, Ethan and I made love like it was absolution. Bodies tangled in flannel sheets. Rain pattering the skylight. But as he slept, I slipped downstairs. Spread the ashes I'd salvaged on the table, sifted, sorted. A morbid mosaic. Mixed them with resin. Pressed them between glass plates. Phoenix fragments. I titled the first piece, A Translucent Slab Where Charred Florals Swam in Amber Eternity. It wasn't pretty, but it was mine, reborn from ruin. Word spread in the art underground. I posted a teaser on Instagram, Ashes to Art, the slab glowing under studio lights. Likes trickled, then flooded. Curators from Portland, collectors from LA. A gallery in Pioneer Square bit. Edgy. Timely. What's the story? I fed them half-truths. Personal loss. Transformation. Omitted the arson. The a mile from hell. Evelyn escalated. Showed up unannounced one Tuesday. Ethan at a conference in San Diego. Banged on the door until I let her in. Her coat dusted with snow, early flurries. The city hunkering for winter. What do you want? I asked, blocking the studio. To talk. Like adults. She thrust a check, 5 figures. Zeros mocking me. For your troubles. Buy new supplies. Move on. I laughed. Tore it in half. Let the pieces flutter like confetti. Money doesn't buy silence. Evelyn. Or art. Her eyes narrowed. Calculating. Ethan deserves better than this. Vendetta. He's fragile. You know. Always has been. A pause. Then the knife. Did he tell you about the accident? Harlan's? How it broke him? I leaned in. Breath mingling. He didn't. But I know enough. About pushes in the woods. About blood that isn't always thicker. She recoiled, but recovered fast, flipped the script like a pro. You think you're the victim? I built this family from scraps. Victor was a mistake. Yes. But Ethan? He's mine. Every achievement. Every code line he's bossed through and through. Her voice dropped to a hiss. Burn that letter, Diana. Or I'll make sure your little ash hobby ends up in tabloids. Crazed artist torches own work for clout. Threat noted. But as she stormed out, I felt the tide turn. That night, I called Lila Evelyn's mini-me, but with a conscience crack. We'd bonded over wine once, trading stories of overbearing moms. Hey, it's Dee, I said, casual. Got a sec? About Dad, Harlan. Ever wonder if the reports were off? Lila hesitated. Then, what do you mean? I dangled the bait. Old letters. Proof of an affair. And worse. Silence stretched. Then a sigh. Mom's not a saint. D. But family sticks. Meet me tomorrow. Coffee at Le Panier. It was a risk, pitting daughter against mother, but revenge is a house of cards. Balanced on whispers. Lila showed. Eyes shadowed. Latte steaming between us in the French bakery's fogged windows. I slid the letter across. Watched her read. Face crumpling like wet newsprint. Jesus, she breathed.
Ethan.
Does he know? Not yet. I leaned forward. But Evelyn's unraveling. burned my portfolio to shut me up. Now she's waving checks like hush money. Lila's jaw set, lawyer mode. That's assault. Arson. We could. No cops. I cut her off. Not yet. I want her to feel it. The slow burn. She pocketed the letter. A pact sealed in espresso foam. For Ethan.
Then.
But if this blows back. Warning hung. But alliance formed. Back home. The studio hummed. Phoenix fragments multiplied. Slabs. Sculptures. Installations where ash swirled in projected light, evoking wildfires. Lost cities. A collector from New York wired 10 grand for the first. Then 20. The ashes, worthless char, became relics. Each piece a middle finger to the woman who'd lit the match. Ethan returned tanned and triumphant, promotion in hand. We celebrated at Canlis. The restaurant perched like a glass eagle over the city lights. Steak rare. Wine bold. You're glowing, he said. Toasting. The art world's eating it up. I clinked, smiled. From the ground up, but under the table, my foot traced his calf. A promise and a ploy. That night, as we coupled with the lake view sprawling below, I whispered secrets, not Evelyn's, but mine. The fear that success would swallow us. The thrill of rising. He held me tighter, unaware his mother's web was fraying. Evelyn struck next at Christmas. The lake house again. Tree strung with heirloom ornaments. Air spiced with cinnamon and spite. She gifted me a set of Fabriano sketchbooks, pristine. Passive-aggressive. For fresh starts, she murmured, eyes daring me to refuse. I accepted. Then later, in the guest bath, tore pages free, doused them in turpentine, lit them in the sink. Sent her a photo, flames dancing. Caption thanks.
Mom.
Her reply, sloppy. Diana. You'll regret this. But regret? That was her currency. Mine was rising. Galleries clamored. A feature in Seattle Weekly dubbed me the Ash Queen. Interviews poured in, podcasts, panels. I spun the narrative. Loss as muse. Destruction as creation. Omitted the villain. Let the mystery fuel the myth. Lila fed me intel. Evelyn's bored seat wobbling. Donors pulling back after anonymous concerns. She flipped. 2. Started stonewalling Mom's calls. Citing boundaries. The house divided. Cracks spiderwebbing. Then the call from the Fremont Collective, the one I'd lost. Diana, we've got space in spring. Your Ash series. It's provocative. Controversial. People are talking. I booked it. Heart pounding like a bass drum. Evelyn would hear. And when she did, the real fire would start. But as winter deepened, snow blanketing the sound, I uncovered more. Victor Kane hadn't died natural. Poison. Per Lila's deep dive into cold cases. Evelyn's prints? Not on file. But the timeline screamed cover-up. She'd killed twice, lover. Husband. To protect her throne. And Ethan? The pawn she'd crowned king. I confronted him gently. Over mulled wine by our fireplace. Babe, I said, tracing his palm. Family secrets. Ever feel like pieces are missing? He shrugged. Easy. Mom's intense. But she's solid. Why? Just. Wondering. I let it drop, but planted the seed. Revenge layered. Expose her. Free him. Claim my crown. Spring loomed. The show date circled in red. Evelyn sent one last olive branch. Lunch at her farm. Her treat. I went. Dress sharp, leather jacket over silk. Boots that clicked like countdowns. She was poised. Pearls gleaming. Menu open to salads. Truce, she proposed. Voice velvet. Ethan's talking kids. Grandkids. Diana. Let's not poison that.
Kids.
The word landed like a gut punch. I'd wanted them, lazy Sundays sketching tiny hands, but now, with her shadow looming, truce implies war. I replied, ordering the ribeye. This is justice. Her fork paused. Justice? For what? A book of doodles. I did you a favor. That ash stick? It's gold. You're welcome. Rage flared. But I banked it. Favor? Like pushing Harlan off a cliff? Or dosing Victor? She blanched. Then recovered, flipped again. Eyes gleaming. You think you're clean? Your father's debts. I paid them off. Diana. After you married in. Silent partner in your little fairy tale. Liar. But the seed of doubt. It wormed. We parted cool. But the air crackled. Back in the studio. I worked feverishly. The centerpiece. Matriarch's match. A massive installation. Barrel suspended. Ashes raining slow motion onto a Voss family portrait, painted over in florals that choked the faces. The opening neared. Invites went out. Collectors. Critics. Ethan beaming. And Evelyn? Blacklisted. But she'd come. She always did. The gallery hummed like a live wire as dusk bled into the Puget Sound twilight. String lights weaving through exposed brick and reclaimed wood beams. Fremont Collective, hipster haven meets high art. Walls pulsing with my resurrection. Ashes Rising, the show's title. Etched in scorched lettering above the door. 200 souls milled, tech bros in slim-fit tees. Silver-haired patrons nursing Chardonnays. Critics scribbling on iPads. Ethan at my side, arm possessive around my waist, whispering, "You're a goddamn force."
Deep.
Pride swelled, but it was laced with arsenic, anticipation of the storm I'd summoned. I'd curated ruthlessly, 20 pieces, each a scar-turned-scarab. Embers of Eden glowed in a corner. Ash-embedded panels backlit to mimic bioluminescent blooms. Silent heirlooms lined the east wall, framed letters. Mine and Evelyn's. Words redacted in gold leaf. Secrets veiled but screaming. The centerpiece loomed center floor. Matriarch's match. 10 feet tall. The barrel rigged with a hidden fan to sift char eternally onto the portrait below. Her face, Evelyn's, bloomed first in the frame. Then strangled by vines of my design. Thorny and triumphant. Reviews trickled pre-show. Seattle Times called it a visceral meditation on loss and legacy. Artforum hinted at familial undercurrents. They had no idea. Ethan schmoozed, handing out cards for his app, some VR thing for virtual galleries. Ironic synergy. Lila arrived fashionably late. Black dress severe. Eyes scanning like radar. "It's brilliant," she murmured, hugging me stiff. She knows. Sent me a text. Don't go. Family night. I smirked. Too late. The first ripple hit at 8, a gasp from the cluster around silent heirlooms. Mrs. Abernathy. Symphony Grande Dame. Peering through her lorgnette. These redactions. Evocative. But whose words? Whispers spidered, speculation. Envy. the delicious itch of mystery. Then, the door. Evelyn swept in like she owned the joint Chanel suit, pearls like noose knots, chin high.
No invite.
But bouncers don't bounce bosses. Ethan spotted her first, waved obliviously.
Mom.
You made it. Her smile was a rictus as she approached, air kissing my cheeks.
Diana. Stunning. So.
Cathartic. Up close. Her eyes devoured, jealousy masked as pride, fingers twitching like they itched for a match. Glad you approve, I said, voice steady. Champagne. We circulated. A toxic trio. Collectors fond. She name-dropped donors. I deflected with anecdotes of the fire that birthed it all. Ethan buzzed on free pours. Waxed poetic. Dee's turned tragedy to triumph. Isn't she magic? Evelyn's laugh tinkled false. Magic or madness?
Low.
For my ears. Careful.
Dear.
Crowds turn on performers. 9 o'clock, the toast. I climbed the dais. Spotlights hot on my skin. Mic feedback a brief screech. Thank you, I began. Voice amplified.
Raw.
This show. It's born from ashes. Not just literal portfolios lost. Dreams torched, but the kind that reveal truths we'd rather bury. Pauses for effect. Eyes locking on Evelyn's in the front row. Betrayal isn't always a knife in the back. Sometimes it's a spark from a trusted hand. And from that, we rise. Applause thundered. But her face pale. Predatory. Promised thunder of its own. Post-speech. She cornered me in the back hall. Away from the throng. Fluorescents buzzing like angry wasps. You little bitch, she hissed. Close enough for perfume to choke. This circus? It's libel. Slander. I'll sue, ruin you. I stepped closer. Unflinching.
Sue?
With what? Your dead husband's blood on your hands? Or Victor's autopsy screaming foul play? Her hand flashed, slap incoming, but I caught her wrist. Nails digging crescents. Touch me, and the letter goes viral. Ethan first. Then the post-intelligencer, Voss widow's dark secrets. She wrenched free, breathing ragged. You think you win?
Etans mine.
Always will be. That paternity bomb? It changes nothing, he loves me. Does he? I countered. Or, does he love the lie? Footsteps echoed. Ethan. Rounding the corner. Brow furrowed. Everything okay? Evelyn flipped seamless. Smoothing her hair. Just girl talk. Darling. Diana's a star. She air-kissed him. Shot me venom. Break a leg. Cinderella. Before the clock strikes. She vanished into the crowd. But the night peaked, sales rolled in. Matriarchs match fetching 6 figures to a hedge funder from Bainbridge. Critics clustered. Notebooks out. Inspiration, one probed. Family, I said. Enigmatic. The ones who light the way, and the ones who try to burn it down. Ethan pulled me aside later. In the green room, cushions and corkboards, scent of old varnish. That toast. Heavy. Mom seemed off. She's always off, I quipped. But his eyes searched mine, doubt flickering.
Babe. Spill.
What's with the ashes? Really? I hesitated, twist point. The first real fork. Tell him, fracture the fairy tale, or shield him. Let the revenge play solo? Old wounds. I settled on.
Kissing his jaw.
Healing ugly. He bought it.
For now.
We re-emerged to cheers, the barrel in matriarch's match wearing soft, ashes drifting like accusations. Midnight. Closing time. Stragglers nursing last sips. Lila tugged me to the curb.
Cab idling.
She's plotting. Called me en route. Ranted about ingrates. Watch your back. Always do. But as the cab pulled away,
Headlights slenissing fog.
a chill unrelated to the damp April air settled. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Photo attachment me. Asleep in the studio. Sketchpad open to a half-done portrait of Evelyn. Thorns coiling her throat. Caption. Sleep tight. Stalker vibes. Voss style. I showed Ethan at home. Sprawled on our couch. City lights winking below. Mom, he guessed. Jaw tight. Who else? Rage simmered in him now. My subtle feeds taking root. We talked to her. Tomorrow. The confrontation brewed at brunch, neutral ground. Elliott Bay Book Company. Harbor views mocking the storm. Evelyn arrived composed. Latte in hand. But her eyes were red-rimmed. War paint smudged. Ethan led. Blunt. Hurt. The fire.
Mom.
Diana told me. Why? She blinked. Feigned shock. Fire?
Oh.
That silly accident.
No.
He slid the singed envelope across. Lila's leak. Timed perfect.
This. Victor.
Harlan. All of it. The cafe hushed around us. Forks pausing midair. Evelyn's facade cracked. Tears. Real ones.
Spilling.
Ethan. Baby. It was to protect you. Harlan found out. Would have disowned us.
Victor.
He was leaving anyway. Lies, he growled. Voice breaking. You lied to me. To us. I watched. Heart twisting. Triumph soured by the wreckage. This was revenge. Not clean. But corrosive. Evelyn turned to me. Eyes pleading. Diana. Tell him. The debt's your father's. I paid them.
For you.
Half-truth. But it landed. Ethan's gaze flicked. Is she right? I never asked, I said.
Cold.
And it doesn't excuse murder. The word detonated. Ethan recoiled. Evelyn sobbed. Drawing stares. Self-defense. He attacked. Victor too. I pressed.
Poison's not defense.
It's calculation. She bolted then. Napkin abandoned. Chair scraping like a scream. Ethan sat stunned. World tilting. What now? Now, I said. Hand on his weary build. Without her. But as we left, rain slicking the promenade. Doubt gnawed. Had I gone too far? Shattered a man to spite a monster? The sails poured in ashes to millions. Checks clearing like vindication, but the cost? Ethan's silence on the drive home. Radio humming low. Felt like the first ash of our own fire. Weeks blurred. Press junkets. Installations in Chicago. My name in Forbes. The artist who turned ruin to riches. Ethan supported. But distant late nights coding. Early mornings gone. Lila mediated. Feeding Evelyn's breakdowns. Therapy sessions. Isolation. She's broken, Lila confided over Zoom. But don't gloat. It poisons you too. Gloat? I did. In private, bank statements swelling. Studio expanding to a warehouse in Soto. But nights alone, I'd sift remaining ashes. Fingers tracing ghosts. Was this justice? Or just another lie I wore like paint. The flip came subtle. Ethan's birthday. Low-key at home. Cake from Macrina. Candles flickering. He opened gifts, tie from Lila. Watch from me. Then pulled a box. Wrapped rough. Inside, a small canvas. My style but his hand. Clumsy florals over code printouts. Titled Our Legacy. It's not ashes, he said.
Shy.
It's us. Starting clean. I teared up. Kissed him fierce. But later, as he slept, I checked my email. Auction alert. Matriarch's match resold. Double my price. To an anonymous bidder. Attached note. Evelyn script. Enjoy the windfall. But blood money tastes like ash. War reignited. I hired security for the next show. Tacoma Art Museum. Bigger stakes. Evelyn lurked online. Fake accounts trolling reviews. Plagiarist. And grifter. Seeding doubt. Sales dipped. The critics hedged. Provocative. But derivative. Ethan confronted her again. At her townhouse, me waiting in the car. Engine idling. Shouts echoed. Stay away from her.
His voice.
Then hers. She's using you. That witch. A crash, glass shattering. He emerged. Knuckles bloodied. Lips split. Pushed her hand through a vase, he muttered.
Climbing in.
Said she confess. To the cops. About Harlan. Twist, mercy? Or ploy? Lila confirmed. Evelyn booked a lawyer. Talking plea. Manslaughter, she texted. Light sentence. If she flips the narrative. The public twist hit like a nor'easter. Leaked to the stranger, anonymous source. Details damning. Voss matriarch's double life. Affairs. Accidents. Arson? My name dragged in. Ashes linked to family feud. Reporters swarmed our door. Ethan fielded calls. Face ashen. Why didn't you tell me sooner, he demanded one night. Bourbon in hand. Fire crackling ironic. Because I loved you, I shot back. Enough to shield you from her poison. Lies, he roared. Glass shattering on the hearth. You used it, my pain, for your art. Your revenge. The accusation landed true. Controversial core. Was I avenger or artist? Victim or vampire? Feeding on familial blood? We slept apart that night. Chasm widening. Morning brought Lila. Mom's flipping. Blaming you for the leak. Says you'll pay.
Pay?
With what? Millions in ash art. Or something deeper. The museum show loomed. Climax barreling. I poured it in new piece. Inheritance of flame. Interactive. Visitors add their secrets to a communal pyre. Projected as blooming chaos. Controversial? Hell yes, therapy or trauma porn. Critics would divide. Readers pick sides. Me the bold truth-teller. Or manipulative muse. Opening night. Packed.
Tense.
Ethan there. Strained smile. No Evelyn. Rumor had her in seclusion. But as I unveiled inheritance, a figure slipped in back. Her.
Gaunt.
Eyes hollow. She approached slow. Crowd parting unwitting. Beautiful, she whispered. Voice rasp. But empty. Without the burn.
Then.
Swift. She flicked a lighter, Zippo. Harlan's old one. Touched it to the pyre's edge. Flames leaped. Real ones. Devouring secrets in a whoosh. Screams. Sprinklers hissing. Chaos blooming. Security swarmed. She didn't fight. Just stood. Soaked. Smiling sad. Now it's authentic. Arrest followed. Arson. public endangerment. But as cops cuffed her, she locked eyes. We're the same. Diana. Flames inside. Ethan pulled me from the fray. Face wrecked. This ends now.
Did it?
Bail hearing. She pled not guilty. Spun as performance art gone wrong, echoing mine. Media frenzy. Mother-in-law torches rivals exhibit. Sales skyrocketed. Irony's cruel gift. But home fractured. Ethan packed a bag. Space.
D.
To think.
Door clicked shut.
Echo eternal. Alone. Ashes everywhere, literal, metaphorical. I stared at the bank app. Millions. Worth it? The question hung. Divisive as the act. Summer scorched Seattle like a grudge. Heat waves shimmering off asphalt, turning the city into a pressure cooker of regret and revelation. The museum fiasco made national headlines, CNN soundbites, TMZ memes. My Ash series dubbed the most lit beef in art history. Sales hit 7 figures, a Netflix doc pitched overnight. But victory tasted like battery acid, bitter and corrosive, as Ethan's absence stretched into weeks. He crashed at Lila's. Radio silence broken by texts, need time. Love you.
Love.
The word mocked. A hook in my gut. Evelyn's trial loomed, arraignment in King County. The courthouse a squat brutalist beast downtown. I testified. Of course, the garage blaze. The threats. The lighter flick at the museum. Stood in the box. Overalls swapped for a sheath dress. Voice steady under fluorescent glare. She destroyed my work to silence me, I said, eyes on her across the room. Evelyn, in orange jumpsuit, hair limp, looked diminished, not the dragon, but the husk. Her lawyer spun gold. A mother's desperation. Your honor. MS. Voss acted out of fear of losing her son to manipulation. Exhibits. My inflammatory art. Headlines twisted as provocation. This wasn't arson. It was a cry for help. The judge bought enough for bail. House arrest. Ankle monitor beeping like a timer. Evelyn walked free. Back to her townhouse. A ghost in her own life. Lila mediated visits. She's sorry.
D.
Really? But sorry's a slippery word when paired with felony. Ethan returned mid-July. Suitcase thumping the porch like a verdict. We circled in the kitchen. Coffee steaming. Air thick as fog. I talked to Mom, he said.
No preamble.
The whole story, Victor. Harlan. The letter.
It's.
Fucked. I nodded.
Braced.
And she's my mom. Simple. Shattering. Flawed as hell. But mine.
You.
You turned it into spectacle.
Spectac. Heat rose.
Defensive. She burned my life. Confessed murder. Made me complicit. Complicit. He laughed. Hollow. You could have gone to the cops day one. Instead, you played puppet master. Art. Revenge. Where's the line?
The
line. Controversial crux. My phoenix rise. Built on his pain. Was I liberator?
exposing rot?
Or arsonist myself? Fanning flames for fame? I did it for us, I whispered. To free us from her. He shook his head. Eyes wet. Or to crown yourself queen of the ashes. He stayed. But the house felt haunted. Conversations clipped. Beds cold. Work became refuge. Commissions flooded. A mural for Microsoft campus. Ash-infused panels for a Vegas casino. Millions mounted. But isolation crept. Friends picked sides. Some hailed me feminist icon. Others whispered opportunist. Lila bridged, inviting us to a family summit at the lake house, neutral, nostalgic. August sun baked the dock, water lapping like uneasy truce. Evelyn waited on the patio, gaunt in linen, monitor blinking. Ethan and I arrived hand in hand, facade fragile. Coffee served. Awkward. "I'm sorry," she started, voice threadbare. "For the fire. The lies. All of it." Tears tracked. "Genuine? Harlan. He was violent. Victor. An accident, bad pills. My desperation. I covered to survive." Ethan leaned in, hungry for absolution. "Why not tell me?" "Fear." She clutched his hand. "You were my light. Still are." My turn, bile rising. Survival doesn't excuse torching dreams. Or stalking. Or that museum stunt, endangering everyone. She met my gaze, unflinching. "You poked the bear, Diana. With your provocations. Flip, victim now. My art was raising you too, sacrifices unseen." Ethan shifted.
Torn.
Dee's art saved us. Financially. Emotionally. By dragging us through mud, Evelyn countered. Headlines? Humiliation? The debate ignited, him defending me, her pleading maternal, me silent, watching the divide. Lila refereed. Enough. Therapy? All of us. We agreed. Uneasy pact. Session started. A shrinking queen and leather couch sagging under our weights. First one. Evelyn unspools Harlan's rages. Bruises hidden under sleeves. Me. Dad's abandonment. Art as armor. Ethan, the golden child syndrome. Cracks unseen. Progress? Incremental. Ethan warmed. Nights tangled again. Whispers of maybe kids tentative. But Evelyn's eyes in sessions, calculating, warned of snakes in the garden. Fall brought harvest. My first solo abroad. Ashes at the Tate Modern, no. Too grand, Saatchi Gallery. London. Ethan came. Our first getaway sans ghosts. Pub crawls in Shoreditch. His hand in mine under umbrellas. Proud of you, he murmured. Thames glittering. Sex in a Covent Garden flat.
Urgent.
Reclaiming. But jet lag home. Jet black news. Evelyn's monitor tampered. Escaped house arrest. Vanished. Cops swarmed our door. Any idea? Ethan pale. I stone-faced. She's dramatic, I said. Probably a spa retreat. Lila called frantic. She left a note. For you.
D.
Scan photo. Meet me where it started. Midnight. Or the truth burns everyone. The garage. Our old bungalow. Now mine alone. Ethan crashing at work crash pads. I went. Alone. Flashlight beam slicing dark. Brain again. Biblical. She waited by the oil drum. Ghost in trench coat. Face streaked. You came, she rasped. Holding. A canister? Gasoline tang hit. Stomach lurch. Talk, I demanded. Back to the wall. She laughed.
Wet.
Always talking. No more. Unscrewed the cap. Sloshed at the house, would sipping it like thirst. You took everything, my son. My name. Now I take yours. Evelyn, heart hammered. This, the endgame? But she paused. Light her out. Join me. Confess your part. The leaks. The manipulation. We go down legends. Twist. Alliance? Or suicide pact? Controversial lore. Burn it all. Rebirth in infamy.
No.
Firm. You're done. She flicked, flame arced.
Caught the eaves.
Whoosh. Porch ablaze. Heat shoving me back. I bolted inside. Grabbed the extinguisher, red beast from the kitchen, blasted foam. Choking smoke. Sirens wailed distant. She'd miscalculated. Fire too eager. Cops hauled her. Screaming. She said it. The witch. But dash cams. Neighbors. Her pouring. Her light. Ethan arrived as flames died. Embers glowing like eyes. He pulled me close.
Soot-streaked.
You okay? Better. And I was the blaze small. Insurance laughable. But her words lingered. Join me. Trial 2. Escalated charges. Evelyn pled insanity. Shrinks debating. Trauma or terror. Media circus. Art world's fatal feud. I dodged mics. Focused on Ethan. Therapy deepened. Bonds mending. Twist drop. DNA results. Ethan's prodding. Victor confirmed, but with a kicker. Harlan knew. Years back. Forgave. Even willed extra to the boy. Evelyn's murders? Unnecessary. Born of paranoia. She cracked in court. Sobbing. I thought. To protect. Sentence. 25. Minimum security gardens. Art classes ironic. Ethan visited weekly. I tagged once. Glass partition cold. Why? I asked. Simple. Love, she said. Hand to glass. Twisted. But yours too. Diana. That art, it's me. In the ashes. Echoed true. Divisive. Monster or mirror. Fall leaves turned. Show in LA. Beckoned. Ashes eternal. Millions projected. Ethan proposed again, rings remade. Fireproof gold. Build with me? Yes. Whispered. But as we boarded. Phone buzz, Lila. Mom's appeal. New evidence, your emails. Anonymous. Someone fed her ammo. Who? The question hung. Readers to debate. Me. The ultimate flip? Winter gripped the West Coast late that year. Snow dusting the Olympics like powdered regret. The city hunkered under gray skies that mirrored the moral murk I'd waded into. The LA show was my apotheosis. Ashes eternal at the Broad. Cavernous halls echoing with footsteps and whispers. My installations sprawling like veins of char across white walls. Opening night, A-listers in droves, DiCaprio nursing a Negroni. Some influencer live tweeting, iconic AF. Sales, 8 figures locked. The Ashes alchemy complete. Ethan at my elbow. Ring glinting under Klieg lights. Murmuring, we did this.
We.
The word a bomb.
But scarred.
Backstage buzz. The appeal hearing loomed. Evelyn's lawyers clawing for reduced time. Citing new evidence of provocation. Lila's text had gnawed your emails? I'd combed my sent folder. Nothing incriminating. Just Ash teasers. Family jabs. But doubt festered. Had I sleep sent in rage? Or worse, someone puppeteering? Ethan waved it off over room service in our Sunset Boulevard suite. Wagyu sliders. City sprawled below like a glittering lie. Mom's desperate. Let the court sort. His optimism. Boyish still. Cracked my cynicism. We made love slow. Exploratory, mapping new territories. Kids' names bantered post-climax. Harlan for a boy.
Nah.
Victor, 2 on nose. Laughter.
Light.
But the ring weighed. Promise laced with peril. Return to Seattle. Slushy streets. Therapy Tuesdays. The shrink probed. Revenge resolved? I hedged, yes. In millions, no. In the echo. Evelyn wrote from lockdown. Letters smuggled via Lila. Script shaky. Diana. Forgive. Or don't. But no, I burned the portfolio not just for silence, but because your art saw me.
Raw.
Exposed. I couldn't bear the mirror. Chilling. Controversial communion. Villain as victim. My fury her fear. I burned the letters, but kept one line. We're all ashes waiting for wind. The twist uncoiled at the holiday party. Voss remnants. Neutral at a Belltown loft. Lila hosting. Tree trimmed minimalist. Eggnog spiked heavy. Ethan and I arrived coupled, but tension hummed like bad wiring. Guests. Aunts. Cousins. Ethan's startup crew. Polite probes. How's the drama? Cloaked in concern. Then. The door. Evelyn. Not incarcerated. Appeal granted temporary release. Monitor beeping festive red. Bail jumped. Sureties posted. She looked reborn. Highlights fresh. Suit tailored. Smile practiced. Surprise. She trilled, hugging Ethan fierce. Missed my boy. Shock rippled. Ethan stiffened, but held. Mom. Lila shot me apologetic eyes. I'd been looped last. We mingled toxic. Small talk over charcuterie. Her anecdotes polished. Lockups like boot camp for the soul. But her gaze on me, appraising, almost affectionate. Heard about LA, she said.
Cornering by the bar.
Proud. Really? Proud. I sipped gin.
Tart.
After the appeal stunt, she leaned in. Conspiratorial. Necessary theater. Like your shows. A beat. Then the bomb. The emails?
Not you. Me.
Hacking your cloud. Old Harlan trick. Backdoor codes. Fed my lawyers just enough to bargain. Confession casual. Like sharing recipes. My jaw locked. You framed me? Again? Balance the scales. Her eyes gleamed. Unrepentant. You exposed me. I exposed your
zeal.
Jury loves a spurned artist. Sentence cuts in half. Probation. Maybe. Rage boiled. But Ethan approached. Arm around her shoulders. Mom says therapy helped. Group sessions inside. Eye-opening. Eye-opening. Her flip. Eternal. From foe to family fixer? I excused to the balcony. City lights blurring wet. Lila followed. She changed.
Swear.
The letters, read them.
I had.
But change? Or chameleon skin? The real detonator dropped New Year's Eve. Ethan's phone. Left charging. Texts from Evelyn. Son. Diana's holding back. Saw her emails, plans for a book. Our story. Profiting off pain. Attached. Drafts. Mine? No. Fabricated. My style but venomous. Evelyn's the monster I needed. Ethan confronted at dawn. Champagne flute shattered on the floor. Is it true? Voice wrecked. The book's real? I froze, hadn't written one. But the seed. Tempted in dark hours.
No.
She's lying. Again with lies? He paced. Wild. Mom says you're using it all. Trial. Fire for a memoir deal. Netflix sequel. The controversy crested. Readers. Divide.
Me.
Betrayed once more. Evelyn's final sabotage? Or truth? My ambition unchecked?
I lied?
No, truth. The publisher had queried. Post LA. Your story's gold. I demurred. But the temptation. He deflated. Sat heavy. I can't. Trust. Bag packed again. Door soft this time, no slam. Just finality. Lila's call next day. Mom confessed the fakes. Panicking, thought it'd push you out. Too late. Ethan ghosted. Emails unread. Spring thawed. Divorce papers served. Amicable but eviscerating. Asset split. Half the Ash millions his. Studio mine. Evelyn got probation. Community service. Teaching art to inmates. Irony's jest. I poured the pain into final show. Legacy's last ember. Pop up in an abandoned warehouse. One night only. No invites. Public. Pay what you will. Pieces raw. Betrayer's portrait. Evelyn's face in ash and gold. Half saint. Half serpent. Paternity pyre. Ethan's features dissolving in flame projections. Climax. Interactive confessional. Booth where attendees whisper secrets. Transcribed to burn live. Crowd swelled. Hundreds. Then thousands. Word of mouth wildfire. Critics raved/divided. Cathartic genius versus exploitative echo chamber. Sales? Record. Ashes exhausted. Value in void. Ethan came. Last hour. Stood before betrayers. Eyes tracing her duality. Beautiful, he said. Voice thick. And brutal. Like us. I joined him. Space electric. Mom's sorry. Again. Says join her. Co-write the real story. Redemption arc. Laugh or cry. The ultimate twist. Alliance from ashes? Controversial close. Forgive the unforgivable. Or let embers cold. I chose middle. Tell her. Maybe. But my terms. He nodded. Hand brushing mine, spark. Not blaze. No ring. No rush. Just possibility. Gray as Seattle skies. Ending? Not happy. Not tragedy, debate fuel. Millions banked. But soul scarred. Evelyn writes still. We're kin. Diana. Flames forged. Kin. The word sticks. Uncomfortable truth. From betrayal's barrel. I rose, not phoenix pure. But hybrid. Artist. Avenger. Maybe monster. And in the quiet afterglow. Sifting final char. I sketch anew. A family. Thorny but blooming. Worth the burn? You decide.